Welcome to the Explainer. Today's story all started with a totally unexpected flash of color right in my own backyard. I saw this bird I'd never seen before, and it sent me down this amazing rabbit hole of research. What I found was just too cool not to share. So, let's get into it.
So, picture this. It all started a few weeks ago. I'm just looking out at one of the fruit trees, and boom, this jolt of emerald green, bright blue, and a splash of crimson catches my eye. It was a bird I'd never ever seen before in the neighborhood. I just knew I had to figure out what it was, and that's what led to this whole explainer.
So after a bit of digging, a lot of digging, through field guides and a bunch of websites, I finally got an ID. It was a young, blue-throated barbet. And the biggest clue? Its colors were just a little more muted than in the pictures of the adults, which is a classic giveaway for a juvenile bird that hasn't quite gotten its full brilliant plumage yet.
Okay, so I had a name for it. But what does that name really tell us? Well, as it turns out, just identifying this bird is the first step into a much bigger and honestly fascinating world of names and classifications.
This bird actually goes by a few different aliases, depending on who you're talking to. In English, we call it the blue-throated barbet, which is pretty self-explanatory. But if you were in Nepal, you might call it kuturke. And to a scientist? Well, to them, it's known by its official tag, Syllabagon asiaticus.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That scientific name, Syllabagon asiaticus, it's actually pretty new. For a long time, this bird was known as Mygaleima asiatica. And this wasn't just some random change. It's all thanks to modern genetic studies that gave scientists a much clearer picture of its family tree.
This whole name change is a perfect example of taxonomy in action. It really shows that science isn't just a set of dusty old facts. It's always evolving. We get new tools, like DNA sequencing, and suddenly our whole understanding of how species are connected gets sharper and clearer. It's pretty cool.
All right, let's zoom in a bit and get a closer look at what makes this bird such a showstopper. These are the colors that stopped me in my tracks in the first place.
First off, it's a pretty stocky, medium-sized bird. We're talking about 19 to 23 centimeters long, so roughly the size of a myna. It's got this powerful little build that's just perfect for its life hanging out in the trees.
But the head? Oh man, the head is where the real artistry is. It's this incredible mosaic of color. You've got this vibrant blue on the throat and face, and then this pop of vivid red right on its forehead. And what I love are those thin black and yellow bands that act like perfect little borders between the colors. It's just so intricate and unmistakable.
And this right here brings us right back to the bird in my garden. See? The juvenile's colors on the right are just a bit more toned down. That red on the forehead has a little hint of orange, and the black bands are softer. This is exactly why my visitor looked a little less flashy than a full-grown adult, but still absolutely beautiful. Okay, so now that we're experts on what it looks like, let's zoom out on the map and see where these incredible birds actually call home.
This species has a huge home range. It's a resident of the Himalayan foothills, and its territory stretches all the way from northeastern Pakistan, across India and Nepal, and way down into Southeast Asia and Indochina. They really get around.
They usually hang out in lowland and mountain forests, pretty comfortable at elevations between 200 and 2,000 meters. And they're not too picky. They'll live in both evergreen and deciduous forests. But here's the key part. They are totally fine with gardens and parks as long as there are fruiting trees, which is exactly why one decided to pay my yard a visit.
So, we know what it looks like and where it lives, but what is life actually like for a blue-throated barbet? Let's dive into how they spend their days.
You might think a bird this bright would be easy to spot, but its green body is amazing camouflage up in the leaves. So a lot of the time, you hear them way before you see them. Their call is this loud, non-stop took-a-rook that they can repeat over 90 times a minute. It's the soundtrack of the forest they live in.
Their diet is mostly fruit. They're what you'd call a frugivore. And that totally explains the visit to my garden. They especially love figs. But they're not strict vegetarians. They'll happily snack on insects like crickets and mantids, and they've even been spotted catching termites right out of the air. Pretty slick.
When it comes to family life, these birds are true partners. Look at this cycle. Both the male and female share all the chores. They work together to carve out a nest, they take turns sitting on the eggs, and they both help feed the chicks. It's a real team effort, from start to finish. Now, whenever you hear about a bird with such a specific habitat in places like the Himalayas, you might start to wonder, are they at risk?
Well, I've got some great news for you. The blue-throated barbet is actually doing really well. They have a huge range, and their population is stable, which is why the IUCN officially lists them as a species of least concern. So for now, this beautiful bird isn't considered threatened at all.
And this just highlights something so wonderful, doesn't it? You don't have to travel to some remote wilderness to find something truly remarkable. Sometimes the extraordinary is right there, surprisingly common, just waiting to be noticed in a tree in your own neighborhood.
Honestly, this whole experience, from that first flash of color to learning about taxonomy and their family life, it's just reminded me that discovery can start anywhere. It really makes me wonder, what other beautiful secrets are waiting right outside our own doors, just waiting for us to notice? Thanks so much for joining me.